Hmm? Ah! Hmm.
Welcome to the show. My name is Alex.
And I'm Lizzie.
Today we're with the best medical person we can find in From, Miss Kristi, aka Chloe, and I don't want to mess up your last name, so
I dare you to try.
Van
Landschoot?
something.
You got it. Lizzie slayed it. You're good.
Yeah, you know what? That's why
it.
she's the brains of this operation.
Or it's
so
just
folks,
teaching with all the kids' names.
So, folks, if you're in the room, please let us know where you're from, and we're gonna have a little chat with our favorite. Are you a resident in From?
I'd say at this point, I feel like Kristi's definitely giving resident vibes.
Okay.
Of the non-medical profession. I know she'd rather be a resident, a medical resident, but instead she's a resident of From.
But she's a resident
of From. For 6 months.
Yeah, maybe like 6.5 at this point, because I think 3 weeks have passed since the show began, I think.
Well, folks, like I said, we're going to be talking episode 2, season 3, Mousetrap. And this was a real, like, holy cow. And, you know, I love the fact that you guys really interact with everybody in the cast. Like, the cast really interact. There's only a few people that you don't really interact in.
Yeah.
And when you read the script, because we usually do this with Lizzie and I, what was your first thoughts of the script when you got it?
Yeah, I was like, oh, Kristi's gonna get to sit down. That's
lay down.
Lay down. I was like, oh, the girly is not going to be able to do the things she normally does. So I was very curious where they were going to go with that, having Kristi kind of being crutchy Kristi for the rest of the season, which means she's just less capable of doing the things that she's very good at. So yeah, and what that would do to her.
I don't want to say you're crutchy Kristi for one reason. You know, Ethan had something go through his leg and he was fine by the middle of the season. You know, not for nothing. I mean, like, who knows what's going to happen? But for those of you that are just joining us, welcome. Sunday is From Day. And if you guys want to, you can hit that little subscribe button right on the lower right-hand corner. And the goal is to get to 650 subscribers by the end of this podcast. So Lizzie, what was your first thoughts of the episode?
You know, so much happened in the episode that once we got to that final scene with the tree, it was almost like I forgot everything else. But, you know, I was just like, this can't be happening. I didn't expect that. I think I'm a fairly easy person to surprise with, you know, things that seem to be pretty obvious to everybody else. I'm just oblivious. But I loved it, of course. And I had a lot of fun with the notes today.
Oh, I bet you did.
Yeah, and I figured out something.
So Chloe, along with the Book of Secrets, as I like to call it, she has the portable map of when everybody actually, So
I don't know.
I know. We're gonna scare you off.
I can't.
You're never coming back.
Let me see.
Can I zoom in?
Actually, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna do this. We're gonna make.
I sent you a picture, Alex.
I know you did, but that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, I know. That's how I feel.
Oh, you can put it back up.
You can put it back up now.
Put it back up.
I feel like I need that. Yeah. Okay. Who do we have here? Okay. Bus people.
So the bus people.
Yeah. Matthew's family, Jade, Sarah, Nathan. Yeah. Kristi, 6 months. Fatima, 1 year. Who's the Lewis?
The Luz.
Oh, the lose.
Lose.
I'm
Who's the
not
lose?
Lewis.
Really? Who's
Yeah.
the lose?
Oh
Yeah.
no, it's boy.
I mean, this
yeah,
is about where I've got them.
1.5. Yeah,
And tonight,
Pottery.
this episode was a reveal as to when Boyd actually got there.
Which was 1.5 years ago,
Yeah.
according to your
Pottery
map
says
here.
it to him, or actually,
Yes.
he's basically saying it to himself.
And just
But
Victor's
it's
Victor's the
interesting.
mayor.
Well,
He's
Yeah.
been there forever.
Yeah.
Scott can do whatever he
Yeah.
wants. He's been there long enough. He can do whatever the hell he wants at this point.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, he
geez.
Yeah.
So,
Tortured soul. All right.
So-
So,
what do you want to start with, Lizzie?
well, I'd like to start with the trek for food. I'm sorry, I dropped my tarot cards. I figured we'd do a reading at some point and find out, what Fatima is having.
Oh, God,
So-
no, to do that.
Yeah. So, this group all drew the short straws, although I don't think that Kristi and Kenny drew straws at all.
No.
I totally believe that Jade must have, because, he doesn't really want to go anywhere and he's too busy with his book, So they go out to that location where the 3 cabins were with
Mhm.
all the scarecrows. And that's what I'm calling them. I don't know what else to call them, but they're, a type of scarecrow that we've surmised keep the monsters away or help scare them or something. I mean, who knows if they worked, because no one's living there. There's no descendants. So I'm thinking no.
Were they as
So-
scary when you guys first went in there? Were they as scary as they look?
They were creepy. Actually, a good friend of mine was the one who designed them. Hella Lockhart. Yeah, she's a good pal. And yeah, she was kind of spearheading the creation of these
I mean,
gremlin
those are
guys.
like freaky. And if you go onto some of the front pages, people are putting these out for Halloween.
I'm
Really? I
putting
love
them out
that.
for Halloween.
So,
I'm gonna make some this week. Or
yeah.
maybe next week,
I
because
love
I have to
that.
travel. Yeah, my dog and I are going to be ghosts for Halloween this year when we hand out candy, but I just want
You
something
should have
creepy
one
in
like on your
the-
shoulder, like when you're walking.
Oh my
Exactly.
God.
A little
If I could
from
figure it
gremlin.
out, I would dress up as one. Although I don't want to scare all the little kids being dressed up like that, but So they
Let's press-
assign jobs and they're sorting food and getting it ready. They know that they're not going back that night. I'm not exactly sure why they didn't decide to stay in the cabins, since they would be there instead of going back to the hut where the talismans are. So can you shed any light on that?
What do you mean? I don't know if I'm clear on your question.
Okay, there's a comment at some point when they first get there that, they assign jobs, and then I think Kenny says, we'll go back to the hut with the talismans.
Because the sun's
for-
going down, I think. So they're like
Yeah.
wrapped up for the day.
But why aren't they staying in the cabin since they're right there? See, this is what we do. We
They're
rip the
not.
show
So
apart.
at the end of they're not heading back into town.
Right, exactly.
They're
So-
heading back to the cabins at the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, that all being said, is this your first interaction with Dale on the show?
Yes. Yeah. But I
think
know of
so.
him. I know.
No, I
about
mean,
him.
I know because you always have to patch up his work when he deals with Ellis.
Mhm.
They're not allowed to be in the same room. That's for
Yeah.
damn
Yeah.
sure.
Definitely know
Yeah.
of him. Kristi has strong opinions about him.
Oh, I bet
Yeah.
she does. What is your relationship with Kenny? Like, that's like the biggest question we got. Is like, what is your real relationship with Kenny?
Yeah.
Because there's like a Three's Company thing where you guys should all just get a room together, and then there's like
No,
other people.
that's not what this is. is.
I know that. No, but are you really good friends, or is it more?
I
Or
think it's just. I think we have this obsession of having to like categorize everything as humans, and I think like
Yeah.
there's always this room for like the nebulousness of it, of this like deep love that they clearly have for one another,
they
but it
do,
doesn't
and that's great. If they're just
necessarily.
friends,
What was that?
if they're just friends, that's great. It's just that's
I
what
don't
people
know
are.
though either. I think it's deeper than that, and it's not named, and I don't think it has to
Yeah.
be.
And that's
They're in
fine.
No, it
this.
doesn't.
They're in a nightmare, and I think when you're in a nightmare like that, you need a person to hold
Right.
on to. You know what I mean? And they've been like Kristi's been there a lot longer than Marielle has, and I mean, of course, when Marielle came into town, that just like shifted it all 180 degrees. But it doesn't
Right.
discredit what Kenny and Kristi have built. They're both responsible for a lot in the town, and a lot
Absolutely.
of
Yeah.
people look to them for the answers, for solutions. So there's something kindred in their relationship, and it's not named, and I like that about it, and I
Yeah.
like that John hasn't pushed it in any specific direction. And I like that fans are like riled up about it because it's like, yeah, welcome to
Right.
being a human being where like things don't make sense and you
Yeah.
can't put them into boxes.
Well,
Yeah.
we just talked to
Exactly.
Ricky this week, and he's very wordy, as you well know. Ha ha ha. No, I mean he's very concise and whatever else, and hopefully, sad Kenny will maybe disappear for a
Sad
little bit,
Penny.
and we can actually get happy Kenny for a little bit. That's why we just want happy Kenny. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone is happy there. I
I
mean,
don't
this
know.
episode is very like stressful and sad. Like, no, I don't think anybody was happy except for maybe Tilly.
Well, yeah, Tilly is.
Yeah, she's God, I love Deb Grover. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's finding her little way in the
Yeah.
town and finding her purpose. But I think a big part of
Yeah.
this whole premise and town is like finding your purpose in a way. Because if you have purpose, you can get through your day. If you're
Exactly.
purposeless, it's harder to wake up the next day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How is it being off the main set? Like, I'm assuming this area was like off the main set, and it's like you finally get to move somewhere as opposed to like that normal set that you're normally on.
Yeah, I mean, this was just like 500 meters away from our normal set, so it wasn't
Okay,
like
Yeah.
well
a
then,
big adventure
it's
elsewhere.
okay. Sorry.
But we split a lot of this up. So I don't know if you've ever been to the east coast of Canada, but the winters there are hellish, and we obviously shot in the winter. And this episode was episode 3, so we were shooting around February. We shot the first half of the block, and it was fine. And then a huge snowstorm blew through and made it impossible for us to shoot the rest of the episode. So we had to delay shooting all like the actual bear trap stuff until April. So they
Oh,
had to
wow.
actually ship a bunch of like truckloads of like fake, like real fake snow into that area we were shooting. And it was like 2 months later. So yeah, it was like kind of chaotic to try to make that set happen, but
Yeah.
yeah, the magic of television makes it all work.
It does, doesn't it?
Yes. I love the snow days when they bring that in. So, Dale, for me in this episode, I love that he was there, but he says a couple of things. And one of the things that he says is that things looked rigged as far as food and stuff like that, that things are rigged. And what it reminded me of is when Donna is telling Boyd that the game is rigged.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think it's rigged against everybody? Or does not Chloe, does oh my God, what is your character's name?
Kristi.
So,
Kristi with a
Kristi
K.
with a K. And I know, she's one of my favorites, but does Kristi think that the game is rigged, that it is a game?
Honestly, I don't think she's thinking any of those thoughts. She's just trying to keep
That's what
tabs on
I
everyone,
think.
make sure no one gets hurt, and
Yeah,
is also just there to caretake Kenny a bit because he's just gone through his own nightmare the night before. So yeah, she's not really playing the logic game of how this place is operating at this point in time. She hasn't had a chance to like sit down and journal about it yet.
Right. She hasn't had time. There's always something going on. I mean, the moment that Kristi and Marielle realized that they're actually looking at one another was amazing. The two of you, the chemistry was just so palpable in that moment. Like I felt like I was seeing someone that I never thought I'd see again. You know, it was really wonderful. And it's been an interesting ride seeing that other side of you, because I can't imagine going to meet someone for lunch and thinking for however long, 6 months, that I got blown off by my fiance. Like that is, and then there's no sign of you, you know? So that's pretty, intense. And, Kristi goes up and she tries to talk to Kenny about what has just happened, and he just completely blows her off. Like he has shut down and he's focusing on the task at hand, trying to get everyone organized and working, and everyone doing their thing. And he shuts her down. And I was glad that Kristi had the wherewithal when her leg is caught in a bear trap, which I can't imagine felt, wonderful. And her intent was to make sure that Kenny knew that he was not going to be alone. And that was speaking to that relationship that they had spent 6 months building, reminding him that she cared about him. So that was my thought about that. I don't know what else to say.
And that's their relationship, it's not like they're not sitting there professing, like there's so much more nuance to like than just being like Kristi choosing Marielle over Ken. Like that's not what this is. It's so much more complex.
Oh no, I mean they've lived a terror together. They've had that bond, and they're just trying to survive. And
it's literally that.
I mean, and I just think right now Kenny is just in such a bad place, which is understandable. You're just trying to be that rock or stability, and now that you're injured, it can make it even worse, just because it's like his whole world is coming apart. And I just love how you, even though you're in the midst of all this, you're still trying to be that medical / rock for the community.
Yeah, I mean that's her North Star, is like in service of others. That's what I admire about Kristi deeply, is she's never really thinking about herself too much. So yeah, I've learned a lot from her playing her.
How much I was just gonna ask, how much has she changed, or how much more do you know about her from season 1? Now we're in season 3, it's all wrapped up. Do you think you really know the character as well as you can, or are you still getting a little surprised with her?
Oh yeah, I mean I'm on a journey with her, and it's certainly far from being wrapped up. There's a lot more I think in store for her. But yeah, she's been really special to play. Like, as you know, I'm also a nurse, and getting to play a form of a medic in my art life has been really revealing of my own shit too, that I've been able to bring, that I've been able to learn by playing her, and to just watch her evolve over 3 seasons is really special, and watch myself evolve along with it, you know what I mean? And I think a lot of her arc is also wrapped up in identity as well.
What type of nursing do you do in real life?
Pardon?
What type of nursing do you do in real life?
I work in like pre-op and post-op, so like I take care of people before and after surgery.
Okay. No, I was just curious, like if it was ER or something
I
else.
did ER for a bit. I started my career in nursing in ER and then transitioned out because
It's a lot of fun, isn't
it
it?
was too chaotic to try to like pursue my life as an artist and also be an emerge nurse.
Yeah.
It was just insane.
I
would think so.
Yeah.
I totally understand.
But I go back to the hospital like once a week. It's good.
Hey,
That's nice.
that's
I
awesome.
don't know if I could just walk away from my day job.
No,
Like, I
it's
want to
big
be
part
a
of who I
full-time
am.
writer. I don't know if I could walk away from teaching. So, but Marjoram wants to know what you did to prepare to be a Michigander from Grand Rapids.
Oh, did you do any study to be a Michigander from Grand Rapids?
Yeah.
I didn't. Because I learned that she was from Grand Rapids like kind of like halfway through the season of season
Oh,
1.
yeah.
So it wasn't something I knew right away. But is there something I should know? Tell me. Is there something?
I know. Marjoram, is there something she
Marjoram,
should
tell
know?
me.
All I know.
If it was Wisconsin, you'd have to have the accent
Yeah.
from Wisconsin. So you're lucky that they didn't
Yeah,
drop
Michigan
that
is
bomb.
like
Yeah.
Ontario adjacent, so Canada adjacent.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
let me know if there's something I should be thinking about.
And
Yeah,
John
exactly.
had added the question, the second question
Oh,
that
God,
everybody
it's
asks
always
about
the
the
question.
show
Yeah.
is what is your take on the whole mole theory? I know you know what's going on, but at the same
So
time,
I don't know what's going
you know
on.
what happens in the season. That's all I'm saying. That's all.
That's all I know.
Yeah, that's all you know.
Yeah.
But what's your take on like the different theories? The mole theory, the chromonocle, it's a government, whatever.
Experiment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if they had MK Ultra, why wouldn't they set up a whole town? So
I don't know. The fact that like Jade's spearheading like trying to solve the whole lore of the town is like leading me to believe this is actually one of his video games that he's like sucked into because he's in tech,
Oh,
right? I've always kind of thought that, but I
yeah.
think there's something deeper there as well. It's definitely a meditation on grief and loss and coming to terms with that. Whether everyone wakes up and they're all in an ayahuasca ceremony by the end
Yeah.
of the series, I don't know. But in terms
I
of
want to do
moles,
ayahuasca, but I'm afraid I'll end up in a
in
situation like
Fromtown,
that.
you're afraid you're gonna end up in
Yeah.
Fromtown if you do ayahuasca?
Or
That's fair.
something
Whatever
like
you
that,
do,
Huh?
whatever you do, ladies, don't drop any acid. I just hear it's really bad ride. After listening to Victor's dad, never drop acid because you could be in front.
Yeah. Or at
End up
least
in
not
From.
near a tree with a hole in it. Just stay away from that. Something that I wanted to talk about regarding this whole scene is that Jade hallucinates, or we don't know if he's hallucinating or if he's actually experiencing these people real time.
Mhm.
So he sees a man impaled to a tree with a railroad track tie, which doesn't make sense. I forget what the term is, but the railroad tie would not have existed at the same time that this guy is dressed from.
Right.
So
Good catch.
that struck me, and it was reminiscent of the Phoebe Rex scene where she played Kelly.
Yeah, I
She's
thought that
impaled
too.
to the tree.
Yeah.
And I'm like, was this another guy that they were playing with? Because it
Yeah.
seems like, given the circumstances of where they lived, and probably, they were still heavily talking about witches and such, they were probably easy pickings. And so I started looking, there was something, I started going back thinking about, they're in Canada, like if they're in Canada, and I can't remember why I got on this. Oh, I know why. When he drinks from the skull, It had to do with Dale saying a holy scary shit when he was talking about the scare tree crows, which is a mouthful, Marjoram. He said holy. And I was like, that's interesting. I mean, holy shit is a swear that people will use, but he threw scary in there. So I hung on holy for a sec, but it wasn't until the guy comes back and Jade sees him a second time and he's drinking from the skull and the blood is dripping down, which could also have been, it would be wine if he was doing communion, holy communion. And that's what it reminded me of. So I was like, if he's doing communion, that means he's Catholic. And if he's Catholic, he is probably in like I think the Nova Scotia area when the French, back in the early days of the America,
he's
the
drinking from a
French
skull.
decided
It's blood.
Huh?
He's drinking from a skull. It's probably
Yeah,
blood.
I know it's blood, but I'm trying to figure out what time frame this guy is from. And so I'm looking and I'm like, all right, so the French and the British, I don't, it was probably at the end of one of their wars fighting over turf here, drew a line and the Catholics moved north above that line with the French while the Protestants stayed south of that, you know. And so then I was like, when did the French take over that part of Canada? So I Googled as I would, and it was 1608. I was going for 1703 earlier, but when it was 1608, it was, 1608, 1609 is on the staircase.
Right. And don't
That
you
was
know
my
what that
deep
is,
dive.
Chloe? Jeez. Come on. You don't know all this?
I know. Come on. No,
No, but that all being said, we do
they
have
don't
other
discuss
questions
that
for
during
you.
the table read.
That's amazing. I love this research. I know. I feel like during our table reads, we need to do our history homework more.
So
Well,
we got
it's
another
not
question
that.
for you.
It
We
was
got another
just
question.
trying to figure it out because with Jade, the way that Jade is kind of fixating on this symbol and trying to, figure it out, and you're thinking that he's designing a game. I mean, my background is in chemistry and biology, so I'm always, like I was always like problem solving and trying to pull in what like all the little clues matter. And I was just like, maybe I'm Jade.
You
But
are
then
Jade
Jade
right
is, what's that?
You are Jade right now because I want
I
to.
am. I'm like,
Can
but
you
I
let
love
me?
it. I
Can you
love
let me
it.
interview
It's amazing.
for Chloe right now because we got questions that people have.
I
Alex,
wanted to talk to Chloe about show stuff, Alex.
I
That's
know.
it.
Are you two
Next thing, we're
fighting?
going to start talking about hair and bangs
Yeah, I know
because
that is one of the
No,
questions.
you can go to Reddit for that. There's a whole subreddit about that.
Oh,
So.
trust me, we get
you're
beat up
right
all the
here.
time for that.
I'm just
But
like, I've been
The hair,
sniffing the
Kristi's
bangs
hair arc
lately.
is a hot topic.
let me tell you, we asked for questions. That question came up like 4 times.
I bet.
But
Oh my
anyway,
God, John said I am kind of being Jade right now. I
okay,
take that as a compliment. And
Okay, team. I
okay. So
got 5 minutes left
now
because
that
I do have to bounce.
I
By 10
understand, I just
minutes.
want to get a couple of questions for you.
Yeah, of course.
You know, Alyssa wanted to know. She's wondering about the growth from season 1 to season 3 of Kristi.
Oh yeah, I think big time growth. Lots of internal growth for her. It's been cool to watch her start to stand her own ground in a way. I think in season 1 there was like a smile through the hard stuff kind of energy to her. I think she got lost out of her own identity a bit because she was responsible for so much so fast, and like that's what happens, right? And then
yeah,
you kind of get shook when your fiance comes into this hellscape with you and you're like, "Wait, 1 second. Who was I? Who am I now?" XYZ. And like to me, I know there's so much controversy around her hair, but a lot of the hair, a lot of the identity, a lot of the wardrobe shift is also about her like trying to figure out who she is. I mean, she's the only character in town as of now that like has somebody from her past life entering into this new place. You know what I mean? And I don't know, folks, but how many times have you done like a sweaty bang trim when you're like post breakup or
I
like
was
in the throes
just
of
saying that
something?
to
Like
Lizzie the other day.
it's such a human thing to do to like try to externalize who you are. Or try to find yourself when you're in a nightmare. You know what I mean? And so much of Kristi is like for others, and her energy is put so much on others. So I think her internal world, her internal work is like, who am I outside of the doctor of the town? Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's super vulnerable too to be like, who am I? Who am I? You know what I mean? And I think like the audience is seeing that vulnerability in real time and having big opinions about it. Like
Which
big
I think is
opinions,
really funny.
bigger than I ever would have thought. And I'm like, folks, like zoom out and be like, look at this holistically and be like, this is just a girl responsible for a lot in the town, trying to find who she is. And like also get in touch with her queerness and be like, where am I? You know what I mean? So it's so much deeper than just like a haircut to me and to Kristi. So there's no need for the bullying, everybody. I'm here.
Honestly,
I'm here for the hair.
care what your hair looks like.
I'm here for the hair. I'm here for the hair art.
I mean, the thing about this show is that it is the quintessential puzzle show.
Yeah.
And any change signals like, is this a new piece of that puzzle?
Yeah.
So, you know, what you're saying is Kristi is putting herself together, looking for the different pieces to try to see what that picture is going to look like. Did Kristi ever consider baby bangs during this?
Baby bangs? I mean, it was a thought.
Okay.
It was a thought process that she had. She did a little, well, Marielle did the first one, and then a couple days passed, and she went, wait 1 sec.
Yeah, she fixed it up.
To like, but there's no like behind mirror. Like there's only 4 mirrors. There's no like 360 mirrors, so she couldn't quite see what she was doing at the back. But that's okay. It's like Friendtown. Like who's cutting? I saw a very funny thing on Reddit where someone was like, guys, like Victor's hair would be down to his knees right now. Like who's giving haircuts? Like everyone lay off.
Monsters,
but it's funny.
You know, on their lunch break, the monsters do haircuts and nails. That being said, you know, you have a couple, well, there's a lot of heavy scenes in this show, but you know, the pool seems to be a great place to have a good scene. And you know, you go head to head with Boyd and Harold. What was that like? I mean, not that you're a new actor, but I mean, Harold is Harold. And you know, what is it like to match wits with someone like that?
I mean, Harold and I have had 3 seasons together at this point too. You know what I mean? You just drop in, you go, and you're like, we're both responsible for a lot in this town.
And you said a lot by saying that, because it really is kind of a mutual type of thing. You know, you're in charge of that medical piece. He's trying to keep everybody together, and it's just so crazy how everybody has kind of come together. And we've asked this question of all of the actors when we've had a chance. You know, do you think love is the Achilles heel of From?
No, I think it's the catalyst. I mean, I think it's the catalyst, not the Achilles heel.
Interesting.
Yeah. Because it's kind of what you're saying, but in reverse at the same time.
Well, it just seems like
I'll let you meditate on that.
Yeah.
Well, it just seems like the farther apart they were when we first met everybody, the monsters and everybody liked it. Now that everybody's kind of coming together and they're trying to work together, it seems like everything is ramped up. Just as an outsider looking in.
I mean, have you ever been in a relationship? That's how it goes. When things start to get real, that's when the stakes get higher, right?
I understand.
Yeah. And then once you like once everyone like settles in, you're like, oh wait, love is nice.
Yeah.
Boring is
So-
really nice sometimes. Yes.
It's underrated.
Boring is
Chloe,
I don't know.
we want to keep to your schedule, and I just want to thank you so much for coming by.
Of course,
and,
yeah.
and
Thank you both.
talking
It was
with
fun.
us. It was a lot of fun. So thank you. I hope we can have you back again. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I just love you. I just, I love your portrayal. The hair is so on point tonight that it could be dangerous in the bathroom later for me. I like the little curls in the
Are you
back.
gonna have a little Kristi moment and change your whole persona?
Yeah, I'm getting
she
there.
does that all the time.
Watch out.
I'm getting there. Yeah,
I mean, you
because
have to
right
realize
now I'm like, this is it.
anytime
Yeah,
more.
she
Kristi had the
does
same
anything-
sweaty thoughts, so
Yeah,
it's a human experience.
yeah.
Well, I mean, she feels everything in the show has a meaning. So, like in the background with the light being on, that has a meaning. The stuff on the hooks, that all has a meaning. I mean, that's just the way she works, and
I love it. I can't wait to know what it all means.
I really,
Yeah. I
it'll
don't
be.
think I want to know.
You don't think you want to know? Well, that's
think I
my
wanna know.
girlfriend's
I like
robe
this.
and her towel and her purse, and this is her room.
Exactly. This is
Yeah.
what it's all about, baby. No, but Chloe, thank you so much for taking the time
Yeah.
and you jumped at the chance. And you know what? The fans love you. And, I just really appreciate the fact that when we do some social media posts, you've always been helpful to our podcast.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for starting a cool community.
Well, they're all a bunch of crazies, and I'm just as crazy with them. So I love it.
We love a
It's
little
so
crazy.
much fun, and we can't wait to see what happens in season 3. And we'll talk to you soon,
All the
Chloe.
best. Later
All right,
days.
we'll see you soon. All
Bye.
right,
Bye.
bye. All right, we'll get you out of here. 1, 2. I think I'm gonna do that.
I know.
Oh,
All right. So, all right. I love her. That was just so awesome to have her. I'm so glad that everyone in the chat room could join us for that. I think that was just awesome. I wanted to ask one question before we close out the trek for food. What do you think those red stones were for? Does anybody have any ideas for that? Or Alex, do you have any ideas? I thought about, was it the Aztecs or the Mayans that like massacred a bunch of
I thought it was for
sacrifices?
killing. Honestly, I thought it was for killing, or it was just to mess with us.
Yeah,
But what do I know?
yeah.
I just think that I didn't actually do the red stones as a screenshot, but
Well, that's all right. It was just the red stones were what Jade saw just before he saw the guy.
right.
And it, oh yeah, but I'm looking at Marjoram. She said red paint, and John says, I think the red stones aren't going to be explained. It's just more stuff thrown at us to confuse us, and that possibly could be it too. It just made me think of the sacrifice of like the people that were going up this like I think it was a Mayan pyramid, and they sacrificed like 23,000 people in one day. So let's switch gears and start talking about Boyd. Boyd was like all over the place. He was like social butterfly this episode. He had so many different scenes with people. We start out with him talking to Ellis about his big plan that he is going to capture one of those things. And when they were taught, like the name of the episode is The Mouse Trap. We see Kristi trapped in a bear trap, very literal sense. But then Boyd talking about building a monster trap so that he can capture one of these things and see if he can learn anything about them. And this conversation with Ellis reminded me of just before he goes out in the woods with Sarah, and they're kind of, they make up, they get close again, and now, here's Ellis, he's a father to be. They're on good terms, and I just really liked the interaction. And then Donna comes in, and it was, I'm thinking back to when we asked Harold about doing his scenes with Donna, and he said such lovely things that when Donna saw our little video of it, she just was like, she was
Right.
so touched, like it surprised her. And there was just this little love fest going on between the two of them on Instagram over that. And so she comes in, and Ellis, I think it was Ellis, tells her what Boyd is thinking of doing. She mentions that they drew straws to figure out who was going to go out and get food. And of course, Dale throws a shit fit because he gets the short straw, but that's his job, is to just throw shit fits. So let's see. My question was, if they do catch a monster, can it converse intelligently? Or are these monsters working off some kind of script? Like, for instance, in the barn, they were prepared to capture Boyd and someone else in that barn. It really didn't matter who the victim was going to be. They were going to make Boyd watch. But the things that they were saying were just, you told us, we weren't going to break you, so we're going to put that to the test. So I'm wondering if they could have a conversation, if torture could work in getting them to talk. Because remember when Boyd sliced Smiley's neck, he just stood there and smiled like it was nothing.
Right.
And then, Donna tells him they're not human, but Kristi says they were at one point. And why, I don't know what this question is. Can you imagine Donna showing up for dinner? I really don't know what that question means to me anymore. Does that make sense?
I just know that, the conversation that Boyd and Ellis had with Donna, Donna has always been very cautious.
Yeah.
And because, again, she's seen things firsthand with her sister.
And she's been there 3+ years, 3.5 years.
And the fact that, she really believes that the game is rigged. So why poke the bear, so to speak?
I agree. Like, why poke a bear? Why?
But
I say that to kids all the time. Don't poke the bear.
At the same time, in Boyd's defense, he's tried everything else. So we're gonna try to go after. We're gonna try to go after them. Now he still may go after them, but he didn't do it yet. Let's just put it that way. I mean, they were gonna. Kenny had the alcohol ready to blow the place up. He didn't do that yet. So they keep what the monsters keep doing is they keep delaying stuff.
Shifting.
They keep shifting so that they're not getting their plans done the way they'd like to. But that said, do you want to go to Tabitha or do you want to go to?
We still have to talk. I'm just talking through all of Boyd's things. The Tabitha and Henry thing has to be last because it's the most important thing. So he has another conversation with Kotri, and this, he's basically talking with his conscience through the whole thing, and he's building this remembrance board, much like the wall in Alexandria. So at any rate, the one piece of gold we get out of this is that we find out that Boyd has been there for a year and a half. So it enabled me to update this, which, you know, I live for. Then my question is, Boyd is talking about getting them in a room and having a talisman on the inside so they can't get out. But we know when they did that in the barn, Boyd woke up with Mrs. Lou and no monsters. So I don't know how that would work, but it might work if the talisman was on the outside.
But unless they already had a way out, like they could have left the door open the way they got in. That barn's huge.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
you
possible.
know, I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know.
My last thought on this particular thing is that Boyd is doubting his plan. That's the whole exercise with Khatri. He's doubting his plan, and you can tell by what Khatri is saying. But he's at a point where he's feeling desperate, you know, and that they've got to do something. So now I want to jump over to Jim, and Jim's not really doing very well. So the phone rings, it's Thomas again. And Jim, right off the bat, he's in a high emotional state, but he doesn't give in to it. He absolutely does not. He thinks logically, like an engineer would, and he realizes that his infant son would not be able to talk. So therefore, he knows that this cannot be Thomas.
And plus,
So
the
he's
kid
not
was pretty aggressive. He was
What's that?
very the person on the phone was pretty aggressive and
Oh,
actually
yeah.
nasty.
Like if Jim was a weaker man, he would have fallen for it. But that's not who Jim is. Jim is weak right now because his wife is gone and he doesn't know where she is. He's terrified of what could happen to him because then he doesn't want to leave his kids there alone. He knows he's being screwed with, but he also knows there's a very real threat behind what's happening. And Jim meets Boyd on the street, and both of them acknowledge that things are getting worse. And Jim is declining. Like they go back and they're making lunch, and he's like, look, I did the best I could with what was left, and Ethan's just kind of playing with it. As an adult, like you're a dad, Alex. You've probably eaten things that you haven't wanted to eat just so that your daughter would eat.
Yeah, no, I get it.
So
I just think the thing that I got from that whole thing was, why didn't he tell Boyd
about the phone call?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that goes back to the complaint that they don't talk.
I mean, it was just like so stupid. I mean,
yeah, but I just think that he just doesn't want to acknowledge that, chicanery, and I was thinking about Julie's attitude with Jim.
It's perfectly warranted.
It is perfectly warranted, but when I was looking at it this week, it's a lot deeper than her not wanting to go back to when Thomas died. It is definitely those cicadas. I really had to work at that because I wanted to say it the other way. It was really the cicadas, I think, are getting to her. And I think that, like, that was confirmed for me when Randall sees one on the window of the bus, and then a small swarm comes at him. So I think that they're definitely
John said the same thing. There needs to be more open communication with everybody in the town. They should at least have a meeting. That's not necessarily a meeting, John, but they gotta friggin' talk. Like,
I think they should have a meeting. I think they should.
But what I mean by that is they don't necessarily have to have a town hall meeting, but like if something just happens, don't you think you'd want to tell Boyd? I mean, it
I
just
think it just comes down to story stuff, So after lunch, Ethan's over at the diner and he's cleaning up because he thinks that Mrs. like Tian Chen would like that. He's over there with Bacta. And we have something that we hadn't had before. And it's a conversation, just a one-on-one conversation between Boyd and Bacta. And, they're talking about how both of them are doing, And Boyd says that no matter it, this is the thing that gets me. He is doubling down. First it's like, you want to break me. But now he's saying to her, he's like, no matter what this place throws at us, we're going to win. Like, no matter what. Like, he is just all in with this. No matter what they do, we're going to win. And we're going to find our way home. And then Ethan asks, what if there isn't a way home? Because Boyd is like being logical. If there's a way in, there's a way out. But there isn't always a way out, and Ethan is just like, I got this, like, Boyd is the eternal optimist. You will not break me, even after Tian Chen. How can they make it worse? And we know they can make it worse. But Ethan is no longer talking about the quest. His views have turned fatalistic. And it just reminded me of Lost with the man in white and the man in black. So if you have nothing about that, I'm going to jump over to Fatima.
Sure.
Okay. So Fatima gets caught. Not gets caught. Clara is cooking a steak, and man, that steak was looking good. But that is fresh food. It's not rotting. And Fatima is like gagging. Then she gets a glass of water and she's gagging again. And she just goes outside. She looks around. She's at the rotted vegetable pile. And she grabs a few things and starts eating them. If we ever get to talk to her, I want to know what that is. Because that's got to be something good that she actually, Pega likes.
Well, no, it's cookies. They did a video on it. It was cookies.
It's cookies?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love eating cookies. I would eat it like that too. So, let's see. Tilly, sees her and they start talking about what's going on. And I was wondering, we know beforehand that Fatima is unable to get pregnant. And with some people, I think they do okay with just living with that. I know I have. Luckily, it's not something I have fixated on. But was she, before she got there, was she wanting a baby badly, like really badly? And that's why she ended up there. Like, did she manifest herself going to From, or going to a place where she could actually be pregnant? She falls in love with a great guy and then has an impossible pregnancy in a horror movie. So they're talking about, Tilly and Fatima are talking about, because Fatima is embarrassed at being caught eating rotten food. But Tilly says, when I was pregnant, I could not lick the inside of eggshells enough, to the point where she'd pull them out of the trash. And so I think that really made Fatima feel better, because that's an odd thing to do too. But given where they are, she's worried about her baby. Like, is the baby okay? So Tilly goes and she pulls out her own deck of tarot cards. So she's going to read, about the baby, see how the baby's doing. But we got interrupted by a suicidal crow.
Yeah,
So
that was
I
weird.
grabbed my deck and let's see how Fatima's baby is. Oh my goodness. So I got to find this. So this is the card of judgment. And I don't necessarily read these cards the same way that everybody else does. Most tarot readers develop a personal relationship. I don't know if anyone in the chat room reads. So the judgment is, basically the judgment, like the decision, things coming right, or, payback for something. And then we have the Knight of Cups. And the Knight of Cups is bringing, like, the cups is the happiest suit in the deck. And the cup is bringing good news. And then we have the victorious warrior, the six of wands. So based on these three cards, I am predicting that the baby is fine, which doesn't seem to fit with being in front. So the only other note about that scene is Elgin is sleeping with his crocheting, and he's like out cold until the crow comes in and flies around like a crazy bat, and then flies into a wall and bloodies himself and dies. End scene. And scene. All right, so that brings us to Sarah and Victor.
I think you're full of crap. I think that baby's screwed. But
Well, yeah, it could be, but that's what the card said. What can
no.
I say? And the thing is, you are free to deny and reject. That's what I say to everybody. You don't like what I'm saying? Deny and reject. So we come upon Sarah, who is in her old house where she lived with Nathan. And she is fixing the little snowman that Kenny broke, and it was the last thing she had from Nathan. Why Nathan was driving around with the snowman, I don't know, unless she took it with her when she left. But she's trying to glue it back together, and Victor is at the door, and he's clutching his suitcase like this. And he comes in. He doesn't even ask her if he can live there or anything. He's looking for a new place to go. He doesn't want to live in the Lou house anymore. So he says to her, he asks her, do you have any bedspreads? And she's like, yeah, there's a few upstairs. And so he's like, all right, we're going to make a fort, which I still love doing. I haven't done it in a long time, but we're going to make a fort and I'm going to tell you a story. And I'm like, cliffhanger. So at any rate, now, are you ready for this,
I
Alex?
can't wait.
Let's talk about Tabitha and Henry.
Let's talk about Tabitha and Henry.
Yeah. I love all the pictures. So I just noticed Agent Gibbs says, yeah, Fatima craving rotten food. No way that baby is coming out normal. I really don't want to change that baby's diaper.
Yeah,
That's what's going in.
that's a thing especially for her.
Yeah.
That's just totally out there. But
Yeah.
we've got Tabitha and we've got Victor's dad, and
Yeah.
she's looking at the bottles, and Victor's dad said that's a replica of one of her favorite
Installations. He
installations.
called it an installation. Well, and the thing was, Tabitha goes and looks at it, and she does not see the hole to make it a faraway tree.
Right.
And so, she's like, this isn't right. Plus, there's no paper, no like written things in the bottles. But he's like, there's the first one, the original one, that is a couple towns away. And so they decide to go see it. But I'm wondering if that tree has the faraway hole.
We're gonna find out. Oh, we don't find out.
We don't find out, no.
Because at the end, we meet a couple of new characters, and we meet a log in the road.
You're skipping over something. The first thing is, the first thing from like Fromville is the bottle tree that he's got in the backyard. But while they're in the car, he asks if, she's hungry, and he mentions that there's probably some crackers because she's feeling a little car sick, and he said there's probably some crackers in the glove compartment. She goes into the glove compartment and pulls out the bracelet.
Right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So she pulls out the bracelet and they're listening. The weird thing is when they get in the car, the music plays, and the way he mentioned it, it sounded like it didn't always play. Like this song, like the radio was broken because he is driving an older car, like the radio is broken or something like that. And every so often this song will play, just this song. And it is Joni Mitchell's Blue. And I went and read the lyrics, and it's basically written for James Taylor. And I think it's inside joke stuff. They understand it, but I couldn't relate it to this show or figure out why that song would be Tabitha and Jim's song. I couldn't figure it out. Maybe they just like the melody. So there's that connection with Jim. But then she finds the bracelet. And if you remember, that bracelet that she made is supposed to be unique. Do you remember why?
Because she made it when her father was dying, or
she made it for Jim, but there's a flaw. She screwed up.
Yeah, there was a knot. Yeah, there was an extra knot.
And so it made that would have made it unique. And there she pulls it out, and then she starts to freak out, thinking she hasn't made it out of From at all. And she wants to get out of the car, and he's just like, no way. So he floors the car without looking, and they get into a car accident, and then she wakes up in the ambulance. So do you remember? I mean, we know, like, with the trailers, you don't get everything, but did you see the ambulance attendants, the EMTs?
Yeah.
In the trailer?
Yeah. The one had a gun.
Did you see? No, because the one with the gun is the cop. Because I was like, why would the cop jump into the ambulance? But the cop mentioned that she held up the lunchbox and she's like, you're the patient that the hospital is looking for.
Right.
So she was essentially a missing person, and that's why the cop is in the ambulance.
Right.
But then there's the two other guys. I don't recall seeing them.
No, I don't. No, they didn't show them. Didn't
Okay.
even.
All right.
No, they didn't show them.
All right. So now we know what that's all about.
There's four new people coming to From.
All right. So are you talking
Victor's dad, two EMTs, and the police officer.
Okay. All right. For a second, I was like very confused. So I can't, like, it kind of makes me wonder about Tabitha's reaction when she sees the tree across the road. Like,
it's kind of interesting because, she wanted to go back.
Yeah.
And yet she's back, and she's probably feeling like, well, did I ever leave?
Yeah.
I mean,
did I ever leave?
Assuming that's
It's
probably
like,
what.
It kind of makes it think, like, when she's in the car and she's like, I never left. But she had to, because here's four other people that have never been there.
So we think.
Yeah. So after
you can go into a deep dive and say they're part of they're moles or what you want to call it.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Like that's how they get in. Someone had to replace Tom. But I wanted to ask the people in our chat. I'm not sure if anyone was in Florida or North Carolina or even Georgia, but after the storm came through Georgia the next day, I was kind of surprised it was over so quickly. There's a street down the, just a couple streets over from me that it seems like every time we have a bad storm, a tree comes down and blocks the road. So I am wondering if anybody else has a street like that. I mean, trees in Georgia or at least in Atlanta are like shallowly rooted, so they come over easily. But I'm out driving around and I hear a buzz saw, so I'm like, or a chainsaw, so I turn quickly to go down and see the tree so I could get a picture of it, and hopefully that it was across the road. And the street I pull into off of Hosea Williams, which always has a tree down. I pull into this side street and there's a tree across the entire road. And I was like, well, that was not hard at all. So, yeah.
But if you're not going to do.
Sorry
What
about
was
that. Sorry about
Oh, okay. That kind of scared me. All right.
Right.
So I think I've hit everything that I wanted to hit, but I have 4 quick booms to take us out of this episode. Are you ready? Boom number 1. Tabitha is back in From, which I'm kind of surprised, again, why she was so upset about it since her family is there. Boom number 2. Victor has a story. And then boom number 3. Pow pow. Jim knows it's not Thomas. And then the last one, boom number 4. There is more to Fatima's story. And that's about all I have to say about that. Yeah, exactly. Welcome back, Tabitha. We missed you so much. Like she's gone like a day or something. Any last thoughts from our chat? Because I'd love to know. Let's see. Jay Sleek says she didn't get to go back on her own choice like she would have if she went through the tree. But she might not have gotten there if she had gone through a tree. So, Alex, do you
Yes.
want to try and pay some bills?
All right. Just give me a second.
No, what
before
is Randall carving? I don't know.
What was the
I'm
question?
sorry. Jay Sleek is asking what Randall is carving. I don't know, carving himself out of boredom. It'd be funny if it was a cicada that he was carving and not realizing that's what he was doing.
A cicada?
Cicada, sorry. The Oz dry hard.
I know. It's tough.
Yeah.
It's really tough. We do have one piece of feedback. It's a little bit long, but it's for episode 1 and 2. It's a voicemail. We're gonna play.
I have some feedback I'd like to share too.
Oh,
Sorry.
please.
No, you go first. I gotta find it.
No. Actually, you need to go first because
I need to go first.
This is still
All right.
up to you. Actually, no, I can go first. Never mind.
Okay.
Alex, hi Lizzie. This is Renee calling in about From. I could have sworn I left a voicemail last week. I have no idea. When I went back, I did not send it. So I'm going to talk about last week and this week. Last week was heartbreaking, totally heartbreaking. They're attempting to break Boyd, which I don't think that they're going to be able to do it. But Boyd, his acting is top tier. Like he reminds me so much of Rick Grimes in The Walking Dead because he's the leader. He's in charge. He has the whole town. The weight is on him. And you can see it. You can feel it. It's just amazing. Like I say, his acting is top tier. And Mrs. Chin, I was so sad And Mrs. Chin, when she was on the after show that you all do on YouTube, she looks so much younger than she does on the show. I guess because she has to play the role of the mother. But you all enjoyed the interview that you all did with her. And I'm trying to figure out why they just did not take the animals and put them in whatever house that was closest. Well, if they just had to go and save the damn animals, which I don't understand that. And I understand they were out of food, but just go and round them up the next day. But if you're not going to do that, just, I don't care. Put them in any house, wherever. Just put them wherever. Because on this episode, I can't think of his name right now. I got to get the names back together again. Where him and Victor was where they do the alcohol in the little bar. They had the animals in the bar. Put them in whatever house. Why are you trying to get them to the barn? Come on now. Seriously, that really pissed me off because come on. You're not supposed to be out there at night. What are you doing? But it was really sad. And this episode here, to see Kenny, to break down the way that he did, that, oh man, that had me in tears. And he reminds me so much of Glenn on The Walking Dead, not because he's Asian, but of course that has something to do with it, but because he's like the second person in charge. Like, he just steps up to the plate. He takes charge. And to see him from how he was when the first season started to now, that's why he reminds me of Glenn, because he has really stepped up. But it was truly heartbreaking, truly heartbreaking to watch that.
And sorry about that. We had to cut it off because a little technical difficulty. But That all being said, we do have another piece of feedback, and you have it. So,
yep, it's two. One of them this first one presented an interesting question. So, hey guys, just was listening again to the most recent podcast and thought of something. That place Kenny and Jim stayed the night had old wagon wheels. What if that was from the previous village residents whom arrived there by wagon after seeing a tree in the road or pathway? So, we're in modern times and, RVs, Audis, whatever. That's what we're seeing them arrive in. But imagine, like, in a modern car, you're just waiting for the road crew to come out to clean up a tree like that. But back then, there was no road crew. They would have to turn around and go back. They would be forced to find a way around it, or take everything out of the wagon and try and get it over the tree. So they just ended up staying there and finding out, how bad it was. And then another one, this is quick. Episode 1 gutted me. Whoa. Steph from Geopat's podcast. Wow. Wow. A podcaster is listening to us. I love it. So that's the feedback I have.
all right. So we got a couple of other things that we're going to do. And
Yeah.
If you guys are interested, we still have our season 1 poster that you can get on our Etsy shop, which is What Is From Shop. Just go to that. If you want to support the podcast, that's one way you can support it. You can also support it on our Buzzsprout deal. I'll put that in the show notes. And the last thing that you can do if you want to support the podcast is you can get merch. We got our Fromville shirts, our mugs. We got all sorts of good stuff in there.
Poster. When you guys buy stuff there, what it does is it helps cover the cost of the podcast. We're not looking to get rich or anything like that.
I'm going.
What's that?
I'm definitely going to Florida with my half of the money.
Good luck with that.
I won't even get out of my county. No, but no, it does help us support the podcast. All the little house elves and everything. We get to pay them and whatever else. Next week we're going to be talking season 3, episode 4. There and back again. So we've got a lot going on. That doesn't sound good. One of the things that I did want to talk about with Kristi / Chloe, now that they have some new EMTs, is she possibly on the chopping block?
Yeah. Because remember in Walking Dead, when in Slab Town, when the doctor showed up, like the
Right.
random doctor showed up, the other doctor killed him.
Yeah.
And it just every time that they would have a medical person, that person would get killed one way or another.
One way or another.
I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna stab you, stab you, stab you, stab you one way. Maybe next week.
Well, folks, that's our show. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And like I said, next week we're going to be talking some more From, and maybe have another guest. We're still trying to find out. We can line somebody up. And
there's a couple of irons in the fire for next week.
Couple of irons in the fire. There's always an iron in the fire. Yeah, so we'll see you next week. Have a great night.
Get you home. Let's go. Come on, get in your house. Let's go. Come on.